Wednesday edition, PFT OT, the show that we do after the show ends. We talk about things we either didn't get to or things we'd like to talk about in more detail. And Chris, I saw this one early this morning at ProFootballTalk.com, those bastards. Stephen Goskowski talking about his decision to stay with the Patriots. He likes the pressure of kicking for the Patriots, the circumstances, the weather, the high-stakes games. The grass may be greener on the other side, but it's not always that way. I've kind of liked the challenge of being here, the bad weather, the pressure, the big games. Look, I read this as being, I didn't get enough of a better offer from anyone else, so I decided to stay. Because after all those years of kicking in New England, winning those championships, you get a great offer from a dome team, I think you're taking it. Look at what it did for Adam Vinatieri. So I just think that the real message here is Goskowski didn't get elsewhere the kind of financial package that would have gotten him to leave the Patriots. And, you know, he's fortunate the Patriots have decided to stick with him because he's had some misses in, you know, recent years that could make you scratch your head and say maybe this is a guy they need to move on from.
Yeah. I mean, he has, but I think we were so spoiled by, you know, the early parts of his career or the meat of his career where we're just like, this is one of the most automatic kickers we've ever seen. I mean, it's phenomenal. They went from, you know, Vinatieri to Goskowski, you know, two of the best kickers or at least two of the best kickers that are in the conversation here, you know, for top kickers in the last 20, 30 years in football. I mean, hey, Goskowski, maybe you're right. Maybe the money wasn't quite what he wanted to be out there in the market, but he's built a home in New England and, of course, has been a part of that franchise and been a special part of that franchise. And I do believe him that, you know, he looks at other teams and probably goes, well, yeah, I could maybe go there to a dome team or this team and they pay me a little bit more money, but is it really going to be as fun as being like on the biggest show in the NFL, which is the New England Patriots, and you know, his chances to kick all these game-winning, game-tying, playoff-winning, you know, division-winning, Super Bowl-winning type field goal kicks and all that. You know, I think there is something to that. A real good kicker, I think, does live for those moments. So I do take him at his word as far as he enjoys that pressure of the Patriots. I don't know. I wonder if he enjoys like Bill staring at him when he misses, you know, field goals and practices and all that. But he's a cool dude, Mike, and he's got a great way about him, and he seems to be unfazed by the pressure of that situation, just in my little experience being around him.
So in that case, right? He can handle the pressure. He can kick in the elements.
Yeah.
Why in the hell didn't the Bears make him an offer?
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. It's the first team I thought of as why didn't they get involved? Or, you know, how, I guess, you know, again, we don't always pay attention to kickers through free agency. So I got no, you know, dirt on the subject or whatever. I didn't dig up to hear from, you know, friends around the NFL. What's the conversation behind the scenes going on with Stephen Goskowski and where he's going to end up? I think all along, I just always thought he'll be back in New England. They love him. He loves New England, and it seems to fit quite well.
He did a 2-year, $8.5 million contract to stay with the Patriots with a $2.4 million signing bonus, base salary of $1.1 million. So he'll make $3.5 million this year with a roster bonus of $750,000 on top of it. So good payday.
Who is the top kicker in football right now?
Top paid?
Yeah, top paid kicker. I don't even know that. I'm actually looking this up on the fly.
Yeah.
So Justin Tucker's making $5 million a year. Robbie Gould with 4.9 because of the franchise tag, and then Goskowski at 4.2.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's great money for guys who don't have nearly the same wear and tear and physical risks. And look at Adam Vinatieri. If you're truly great at it, you can do it for a long, long time. And Vinatieri showing no signs of slowing down. All right. The Arizona Cardinals have one of the best cornerbacks in football. We talked earlier this week about where Patrick Peterson currently ranks. Chris, I think you have him at number 8 on your rankings of the top 10 corners currently in football. There's a sense that maybe he's faded a bit, and there's a sense that won't go away that the Cardinals may trade him. He's unhappy about something. He's been away from OTAs. They had to put a fire out a few weeks ago where somebody said something that pissed him off, and this all blew up, and you've got Antonio Bryant, the former NFL receiver, who keeps banging the drum about a potential trade of Patrick Peterson to the Chiefs. Regardless of whether they will, should the Cardinals at this point, is this the time to sell high, or at least higher than maybe you'll be able to sell in a couple of years?
I would be thinking about it. I you know, again, Patrick Peterson's awesome. You know, you want him a part of your football team. They don't exactly have like the greatest secondary in Arizona, but have some young guys where I go, okay, you know, hey, they drafted a Budda Baker at safety 2 years ago. He's getting more involved. Signed Robert Alford as a free agent when he got cut by the Falcons. Got David Amerson, Tremaine Brock. They got a lot of guys that got potential, have had moments, but never strung together consistency. They drafted Byron Murphy at the top of the second round. So they do have young guys that they can build with in the secondary. And yes, I would think a guy like Patrick Peterson's stock is about as high as it can get, really, as far as trading, at this point of his career. Yeah, I mean, I know his stock was higher in year 5 when he was absolutely in the prime of his career, but I'm talking about balancing out, the player with the economics of the situation, to where I look at it and go, yeah, you can trade a player that's still one of the best corners in football. He can really change another team's outlook for their defensive side of the ball, and it can be enticing to other teams because he's not making big money, to where I would certainly be thinking about it if I'm the Arizona Cardinals.
$11 million salary this year, $12.05 million next year. Next year, the final year of his contract. And for a team that seems to be, in the midst of, I don't know, is it rebuilding? I guess it's rebuilding, or is it just building? I don't know. I don't know where they are right now.
They're building.
But maybe they could get some assets for Patrick Peterson before he walks away as a free agent, or before they decide that they just can't get anything for him. But something's not right there. And the guy calling the shot, Steve Keim, I mean, I'm still troubled by the idea that he never called Josh Rosen before or after the selection of Kyler Murray, before or after the trade of Josh Rosen to the Miami Dolphins. And maybe Steve Keim is the one who said whatever it was that pissed off Patrick Peterson, but I think that they need to be a little more careful on how they deal with their players, because I think you're going to have some upset guys in the locker room. Even if there weren't any strong feelings about Josh Rosen, the idea that this is how the players are respected or not respected, that's got to piss guys off, Chris.
Well, yeah, and it's not a good look for Steve Keim. And, I know we've kind of talked about some of these situations to where I don't think it's going to become a problem in the locker room yet. But they're going to observe it, and they're all going to look at it the corner of their eye and go, wait, is this the way this guy does business? Is he just, throw you out in the garbage when it's all said and done? So, he's got to be a little bit careful, and certainly needs to call Josh Rosen and have a conversation and at least thank him for his services in Arizona.
In New England, there's a new defensive coordinator, and the defensive coordinator is also the guy who's been the head coach since 2000, Bill Belichick. After Greg Schiano abruptly left, he came in as defensive coordinator. Brian Flores never got the title after Matt Patricia left. Patricia had held the job for an extended period of time. Now Bill Belichick's going to be the defensive coordinator. We talked about this during the show, Chris, but I want to focus on this more from the perspective of the offense. What does the offense lose if Bill Belichick is more involved defensively? Because he's one of those coaches that has transcended offense or defense.
Yes.
He's not pigeonholed. He can coach anything and everything. So if he's focusing on the defense, what does that mean for Josh McDaniels, Tom Brady, and the offense?
Yeah, no, I mean, first off, your point's right. I mean, Bill Belichick, I think of Bill Belichick, guys like Pete Carroll, Mike Shanahan in their prime, they could coach both sides of the football, and Belichick's certainly capable of that. I don't think their offense is going to lose a whole lot. First off, Josh McDaniels, I would say, is probably the most trusted guy on the staff underneath Bill Belichick. I mean, he's almost like a mini Bill Belichick, and I think that's why they have such a great relationship and everything's worked so well there over years. Even when Josh went to Denver, Bill gave him all the New England stuff so he could bring it to Denver and teach us the offense off of that. So that spoke to how good the relationship is. I think the big thing, though, is, Bill probably won't be able to maybe have his, stick his nose into every little detail all the time. But, man, he's such a curmudgeon. He works so hard. He's all over the pulse of every little thing that's going on as far as game planning and the roster and all of that, to where I still think he's going to let his thoughts be known, even though he's got to be more a part of the defensive game planning on a daily basis and maybe tinker with that. I just remember being in that building and him and Josh being in the hallway, and I'd walk down the hallway and they were having a conversation about, the game plan or the way they were going to attack a team that week. And I would walk out and come back in that same hallway an hour later, and they were still standing in the same spot having the same damn conversation. And I was always like, damn, I'd love to hear this conversation. It must be amazing. But, Bill's going to have his work cut out for him. Mike, go on New England Patriots website, and you look at their coaching staff right now. I mean, that's one thing I tell people all the time. New England's coaching staff is so much smaller than the rest of the NFL. It's hilarious. And you go on their website right now, and you have Bill Belichick and there's 4 assistants on the offensive side of the ball. On the defense, his son is the only one that's listed as a defensive coach. And the special teams, they got a Joe Judge and his assistant and 2 strength coaches. It's really remarkable the way they do things. It's so different than the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, and you just find out who the coaches are when they deem fit to tell you who the coaches are. And
right.
it's just, for a while, the only coach on defense was Steve Belichick, Bill's son. So just and I'm not going to say strange in a bad way. It's unusual, but it works. Everything the Patriots do,
it works.
And this is going to work. Look, the Patriots are in trouble. Bill Belichick's the defensive coordinator. No, it's going to work. It's going to work just fine because Josh McDaniels has figured out a thing or two over the years how to run an offense the way that Bill Belichick wants it to be run.
Yep.
All right, somebody's got to run the offense on the field for Washington. Who will the quarterback be? We've talked a lot about Case Keenum or Dwayne Haskins. We forget about Colt McCoy, a guy they really like. He's getting healthier in his recovery from a broken leg he suffered right after he was finally getting his opportunity to play following the Alex Smith broken leg. I think Colt McCoy is the first guy to go, right? Healthy or not, I think it's down to Case Keenum and Dwayne Haskins, and I don't know that you keep all 3 guys around him. McCoy's been there a long time. Remember, he had promise. He was a 3rd-round pick, I think, coming out of Texas. He was with the Browns, and it looked like it was all moving in the right direction, and it all fell apart, and he's never really settled anywhere else as a starter. But he's had his moments. Remember, he beat the Cowboys back in, the 2013, 2014 season, a big Monday night game. It gave them hope when he came in and played this year. But I think his time in Washington is going to be up if it comes down to Haskins or Keenum, because then if you start Haskins, you keep Keenum there to be the veteran presence.
I think so, too. I mean, Colt McCoy's, he's a veteran presence, too, but he's been a guy that's been injured a lot, too, so he's not necessarily the guy you want to be the backup to a rookie either. Case Keenum hasn't had those issues. I'm a little worried about Colt McCoy there. I mean, he's certainly one of the better backups in football, a fringe, starting quarterback type of talent guy. But it stinks when, you get an injury. You had a chance last year to really kind of prove yourself. If he had a great end of the year last year, who knows what's going on right now in Washington. Maybe no Case Keenum's there. And maybe it's just him and Dwayne Haskins and he gets another chance to prove it. But, complications with the surgery and the broken bone in the leg and everything else. So now he's behind the 8 ball. And I'm with you. I mean, I think when all's said and done, Dwayne Haskins is going to continue to impress. We know he's staying there, and I think Case Keenum will be the guy too. Does Colt McCoy get traded, cut? I don't know, but it stinks that he doesn't get those reps, and he's going to kind of be behind the rest of the group once the training camp starts.
The other thing to keep in mind here, they have that money tied up in Alex Smith, the injury guarantee for this year of his contract. He is far and away going to be making more money than any of the other quarterbacks. He's going to make more than the other quarterbacks combined. So if you can save $3 million, non-guaranteed, say goodbye to Colt McCoy, stick with 2 quarterbacks, maybe get, if you need to have a 3rd guy around, a guy on the practice squad who could be elevated to the active roster if someone gets injured. But I just think somebody's going to be out. The moment they drafted Dwayne Haskins, I think the message was Keenum or McCoy is going to be out. And I think McCoy is going to be the more vulnerable of the 2. In Jacksonville, we know Talvin Smith is out. He says he's not going to play this year. I'm told the Jaguars, even as late as the end of last season, did not expect to have Talvin Smith this year, so they have to fill his spot at weak side linebacker. Miles Jack doesn't want to move from the middle. And, Chris, you've had some opinions on what they should do and maybe what they were thinking when they drafted Josh Allen 7th overall. Do you think he just steps into that spot and Miles Jack stays where he is?
No, I think that's going to be really something I'm going to watch. I mean, because Josh Allen, we've talked about it a lot. A lot of people compared him to Anthony Barr, right? A guy that was a pass rusher in college, but we thought he might be a stand-up 4-3 linebacker in the NFL. I want to see what they're going to do or how they're going to use him. And I wonder if the Talvin Smith situation does change their plans overall, or maybe make it more, to where, okay, let's try him out here right now. And maybe if Talvin Smith was there, they would have just let him be the defense end. They do have a guy in Leon Jacobs who plays a lot at linebacker position. Most of the time, the Jacksonville Jaguars are in nickel defense, so there's only 2 backers on the field. But hey, Talvin Smith was a hell of a football player. I mean, man, he is really good. I mean, I would argue Talvin Smith, Miles Jack, they're in the conversation with, Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch and Dallas for the best duo in the NFL at middle linebacker. So this changes their defense. But, I do wonder how they use Josh Allen. Miles Jack, I think he's very comfortable at his position. And at the very least, I saw on Pro Football Talk that people were talking, well, maybe he'll play the weak side linebacker spot that Talvin Smith played, and they'll switch roles that way. And Miles Jack doesn't seem to be too excited excited about that. So, yeah, how are they going to make this work, and how are they going to use Josh Allen for one of the most talented defenses in football? Certainly something I got my eye on.
Yeah, and look, the Jaguars are a team that I think you and I both feel very strongly can turn it around the same way it turned around in a negative way, from 11-5 to 5-11. And not having Talvin Smith is going to hurt them, but how they deploy their assets defensively. I mean, it is a great, great defense. And the Jaguars are one of those teams that, unless they get to a Super Bowl, we're not going to collectively notice them, right? I mean, there are certain teams that unless you win a Super Bowl, people just don't care. And unless you get to a Super Bowl, people don't even begin to notice. And I think the Jaguars fall into that category. And this could be the year it all falls together. I have a ton of faith in Nick Foles. I wish the Jaguars and the Eagles played this year. And maybe they will. Maybe it'll be Jaguars-Eagles in Miami in early February, Chris.
No.
That wouldn't be a bad Super Bowl prediction.
It would not. I mean, if you had to go like under the radar Super Bowl predictions, we're both the same here. I expect Jacksonville to be in the playoffs. Whether they sneak in a wild card or win the division, I don't know. But I just look at their team and think they're a playoff caliber football team. They're tough, and I think Nick Foles and John DeFilippo will bring enough to the offense to where they don't always have to depend on their defense. And hey, remember the game in London last year, the Eagles-Jaguars? That was a phenomenal game. I mean, that really was a lot of fun. It was physical. There was big plays. I'm always for two physical teams playing each other and beating each other up. That would be a fun Super Bowl.
Well, I'm glad I wasn't there today, so you couldn't beat me up. It's nice to be home. We'll do this again tomorrow as you finish your work week. Thursday's coming. Yeah, thank God it's Thursday.
You know it.
You need a T-shirt that says that.
It's been a hard week.
We'll check out the interview of Kenyon Drake and the Chris Simms Unbuttoned podcast. There'll be a new edition of PFT PM later today, and we'll be back tomorrow with an all-new edition of PFT Live. Everybody have a great day. See you Thursday.
See ya.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.